All right, let's talk about something that, well, it affects pretty much all of us. How Google is using your data, both the public stuff and your private information, to power its massive AI push. We're going to jump right in.
We're kicking off with this quote because, honestly, it gets right to the heart of it. This isn't some abstract concept about data points floating in the cloud. We are talking about the actual words in your personal inbox. You know, your private chats, those sensitive documents you email, all of it is on the table as a potential training ground for AI.
And just so we're all on the same page, this isn't some what-if scenario for the future. It's happening right now. For a lot of us, Google just kind of flipped a switch that automatically opts you in to this data sharing. It's not something you were asked about, it's a default setting that you have to go and actively hunt down to turn off. Okay, so the Gmail thing is super personal, right? But believe it or not, that's just the tip of the iceberg. To really get what's going on, we need to zoom out and look at the huge scale of Google's data collection for its AI goals.
Now, this right here is fascinating. It's a subtle but absolutely massive change in Google's privacy policy. See how they went from using public data for language models to the much broader term AI models? So why is that such a big deal? Well, language mostly means text, but AI? That could be anything. It could be training image generators on your public photos, creating voice models from videos you've uploaded, or analyzing your location from reviews you've written. That one little word change just blew the doors wide open for what they can collect.
So, what are we actually talking about here? What's on the menu for these AI models? Well, pretty much everything. Google is scraping all the public info it can find online, blog posts, forum comments, product reviews, you name it. And as we've already covered, it also includes the very private stuff from your Gmail and even the files you attach to those emails. All of this becomes the fuel for AI like Bard and Gemini.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, fine, I get it. I'll just opt out. Simple, right? Well, this is where the story gets a little tricky, and honestly, a bit frustrating, especially if you create content or run a website. First, let's quickly talk about this key feature, AI overviews. You've probably seen these. They're the AI-generated summaries that pop up at the top of a lot of Google searches now. They're built to give you a quick answer so you don't even have to click a link. And how they get that information is the whole point.
And there it is. That's the bombshell. In a recent court case, Google actually admitted that even if a website owner explicitly tells them not to use their content for AI training, Google can still use that content for its AI features inside of search, like those AI overviews we just talked about.
So let's break this down, because this is the crucial distinction. When a website owner puts up that opt-out sign, what they're really doing is blocking Google from using their data to train future versions of its AI, like the next generation of Gemini. What they are not doing is stopping Google from using their content right here, right now, to generate those answers you see in AI overviews and AI mode.
And this puts publishers in a really tough spot. To stop their articles and posts from being summarized by AI, they'd have to block Google's main search bot completely. Doing that would basically make their website invisible on the internet. So it's this awful choice between being seen and having control over your own work.
Okay, I know that was a lot, and it can feel a little bit powerless, but understanding what's happening is the first step. Now let's switch gears and get to the good part, what you can actually do about it. This is your personal action plan for taking some of that control back. First things first, let's tackle the most personal stuff, your own Google account and all the data you've got stashed away in Gmail. This is where you have the most direct power. All right, first stop is your main Gmail settings. You'll need to do this on a desktop, by the way. Open up Gmail, click that little gear icon for settings, and look for Smart Features. Unchecking that box is your first move. But, and this is super important, don't stop there. There's a second setting you have to deal with. This is the one that so many people miss. Google has a totally separate control panel for what it calls Google Workspace Smart Features. You need to go in there and toggle both of these options to off. If you only do the first one, the AI training might continue. You have to shut down both to really opt your Gmail data out. Okay, so that's your personal data. Now let's talk about public data. For any of you who run a website, a blog, or publish anything online, there's a specific tool you can use to lay down the law for Google's AI. And that tool is a simple little file called robots.txt. The easiest way to think about it is like a set of instructions or a bouncer at the door of your website. It tells the visiting search engine bots what they're allowed to look at and what's off limits.
Now, to opt out of that future AI training we talked about, you just add this specific command to that file. The user agent Google Extended is a special name just for their AI crawlers, and disallow slash basically tells that specific bot, nope, you can't use anything on this site to train your Gemini models.
And hey, it's not just Google, by the way. This is quickly becoming the new industry standard. Apple just introduced a nearly identical command, Applebot Extended, for anyone who wants to stop their content from being used to train Apple Intelligence.
So, we've seen the problem, and we've walked through the solutions. But all of this really points to a much bigger question about the future of the internet, doesn't it? It's about this fundamental trade-off that we are all making every single day.
On one hand, you have the promise of AI, and let's be honest, it's pretty amazing. We're talking about smarter tools that can help us write, manage our overflowing inboxes, and find what we need faster. But what's the price of admission? Well, right now, the price is our data. Our private messages, our public creative work, our entire digital lives are becoming the fuel for these systems, and it's almost always opt-in by default, not by choice.
And of course, there's always some fine print. Here's one last little detail for you. Even if you go into your Gemini settings and turn off activities so your chats aren't saved to your account, Google still saves those conversations for up to 72 hours. They say it's for safety and to improve the service, but it's just another reminder that off doesn't always mean gone.
So let's boil this all down. What do you really need to remember? 1. Google is using your private Gmail and public web data for its AI. 2. You are almost certainly opted in by default. 3. For website owners, the opt-out doesn't stop your content from showing up in AI search results. But 4 and 5, you can take control both in your personal settings and by using that robots.txt file on your website.
Which leaves us with the big question. And it's not one for me to answer, it's for you. As these incredibly powerful tools get woven deeper into our lives, you have to decide for yourself, in this ongoing trade-off between amazing AI and personal privacy, where do you draw the line?